Hello and welcome to another episode of my Datsun 280Z project car build. I'm Dave, this is Grindhouse Performance Engineering, and in today's episode, we're going to be finishing all the fabrication on the fuel cell and trying to get it into the car. There's a lot to do today, stay tuned. So welcome back to the shop. It's a new year. I'm excited to be back. If this is the first video of mine that you've watched, I hope you enjoy it and I hope you consider subscribing if you do. To catch you up on what we're doing today, I've been working the last couple of videos on this fuel cell structure here. I wanted something to provide a little bit of protection for the rear, serve as a jacking point, have tow anchors, have trailer anchors, so I'd be able to move everything around and have it be nice and strong while mounting the fuel filter and having a provision for all the lines and everything there. So this has really been the product of quite a bit of design work to get this far. But today's video, the first thing that I want to do, this lower section here is not attached to anything, it's still loose here. So I had these plates laser cut from a company called Send Cut Send, where you just send them a CAD model, they send you a quote immediately. They're not a sponsor, but their service is really cool if you know how to use CAD. And I had them make up a whole bunch of different plates, gussets, some stuff for some other projects, and then also these guys. So I made these plates here. These were going to be the anchors for tow straps that were just going to be on the bottom and look really cool there. But they weren't quite thick enough, so I wound up having these made instead. They look a little bit cooler, a little bit more custom, a little bit more show car, because these are going to be totally visible under the car, which will be cool. So anyway, let's go ahead, let's get started. First thing I want to do, I want to make some captive nuts for this, mark all my holes, disassemble everything, drill some holes. Let's get to work. I had matching plates laser cut for both the upper and lower frames. While the plates themselves aren't terribly technical to make by hand, making 8 identical plates can be tedious, time consuming, and I didn't think you guys would find that terribly interesting. With the upper and lower frames in place, I'm tack welding the mounting plate to the upper frame so that I can flip the structure over and mark the center points to drill some holes. You might not know this, but it's been just over a year since I posted my first video introducing my Datsun 280Z project. Let me know in the comments when you first found my channel and what your favorite part of the series has been so far. I've said it before, but this build series has been one of the most challenging things I've ever done, and I owe the last year to you guys for joining me along the way. I'm removing the fuel cell so I can flip the structure over, punch some holes in the bottom of the upper frame, and drill some holes for the weld nuts to sit inside. Tack welding the plates and flipping the structure over let me very accurately punch the centers of the holes rather than blindly using a Sharpie to try to mark everything in position while everything was upside down. I'm drilling pilot holes with a very accurate drill before following up with the hole saw. The pilot for the hole saw isn't the greatest, so this helps get the centers exactly where I need them. With all the pilot holes drilled, the tack welds are cut, and I use a punch to break the tacks the rest of the way. I'm using a slightly oversized hole saw to give the weld nuts a little wiggle room for adjustment, and also because of the bead of welding that's going to hold the nuts in place. Each of the plates are doubled up and then bolted together to be welded. Doubling the plates together like this acts as a heat shield and minimizes any distortion in the threads from welding. It's also important when you're welding captive nuts to not tighten the bolts too much, because the heat from welding might destroy the threads if they're over tightened. The upper and lower frame sections are joined again on the table, and the fuel cell is installed so the mounting plates and captive nuts can be welded into their final positions. This step is especially critical because it will finalize the position of the lower frame relative to the fuel cell. The mounting plates are sandwiched between the frames and bolted to one another. The lower plate will only be welded to the round tubing, and the upper plate with the captive nuts will only be welded to the rectangular tubing, so the lower section will be removable. I didn't like the idea of having everything to be one big welded structure, but this definitely made the design and fabrication a lot more challenging. With everything tacked together, the fuel cell is removed once again and the structure is clamped to the table to be finish welded. All right, that was a lot of welding. That was a lot of welding. But everything looks really good. I'm really happy with how everything turned out here. Everything's nice and welded in. I did check after I welded everything. I did remove all the bolts, and it does in fact come apart. I didn't accidentally weld the two plates together, which is a surprise. But the next thing we've got all these other accessories here. So we've got the jacking point here. This is going to get welded on. The toe point for the rear, and then the toe points for the sides as well. So let's do it. I'm using a piece of scrap steel and some quick measurements to position the rear tow hook. To strengthen the corners of the lower tube structure, I've designed some gusset plates that I had laser cut as well. With the fuel cell reinstalled, I can set the depth of these gusset plates, bring them over to the press, and have them dimple dyed for a little extra strength. I don't want the plates touching the cell, so I'm using a small piece of scrap to space out the corner gussets from the fuel cell. At this point, I've been welding almost all day, flipping the structure around, welding from each of the sides of the table, and getting everything taken care of, and I'm coming up on the home stretch. I'm using a 90-degree guide to locate each of the side toe straps, which you can see are correctly oriented here. You might guess where this is going. Then using a level against the welding table to make sure they're facing vertically. What happens next is entirely predictable. Oh yeah, looks good. Just what I always wanted. Maybe I should move the camera so I can get another shot for this sweet time lapse of me doing exactly what I wanted to do. Moving the camera's the only reason I didn't completely mess this up. All right guys, all the accessory stuff is on. I've got the toe hooks, the gussets plates, the other toe hook, the jacking bar, all the plates are welded in now. This is looking pretty crazy. I don't know, it's upside down, obviously. But you get the idea here. So these will be visible. They're gonna look freaking wild. All of this is gonna be totally visible. You're gonna see it outside of the, if I go over here, I'll show you. So the rear quarter panel here tucks up pretty high. So you'll actually see those toe hooks on the sides there sticking out, which I think will be pretty cool because it's pretty tall back there. So I'm not too worried about them being too low or anything like that. But I think the next thing to do, I've got to weld the backside of this. I got to take the cell out to weld the backside of this one. And then we're going to put it in the car for the first time since I first tacked the frame together. So I'm hoping that it still fits because there's a lot of hours of work in this. And one way or another, we're going to make it fit. But let's see where we get. All right guys, so I just have it rough cut right now. I didn't go back through. I need to clean up all of the cuts. It's all rough. I know I need to finish it out. My plan for the floor is from the bottom, I'm just gonna weld every some odd inches. I'm just gonna stitch weld the floor to the frame, and then these edges will get welded right to the original frame rails all the way around, so it'll be nice and strong. And then I'm just gonna seam seal the whole rest of it when I go to paint it, but I need to paint the frame and everything before I weld it and put it in place. I just wanna paint some of that stuff ahead of time so it doesn't rust, because it's gonna be a little bit before I'm gonna seam seal it. But otherwise, it looks awesome. I love the view inside the cab. So with the glass here, you'll see, the filter mount, how cool that looks. You'll see all the fuel system stuff. It looks so strong. It looks killer. And then from the back, oh yeah, it clears the exhaust. We've got a bunch of room to the exhaust. Well, not a bunch of room, but we've got enough room to the exhaust here from the frame. We've got the toe hooks, which these are nice. These are low enough that you can see it from the side. Once these are powder coated, you'll see them and they'll be nice and obnoxious looking. So that'll be cool. But yeah, it looks awesome. I have a lot of work to do to finish it. So I'm gonna end this video here, guys. This has been so much fun. This has been so much work, but seeing it, it's really coming to look just the way that I wanted, and there's no better feeling. So I'm gonna end this one here so I can get to editing, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching.